"I'm a virgin, go slow," she whispered, and the Lakota vowed to guard her with his life. Emily had always been cautious around people. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, she had learned early that trust was something you earned, not something you gave freely. Her life was quiet, predictable, and safe. She spent her days working at the local library, reading books about faraway places she could only dream of visiting, and walking along the riverbank when she needed time to think. Life was simple, but Emily often felt invisible, like she was a shadow moving through a world too loud and fast for her gentle ways. That Saturday morning, the town was buzzing more than usual. It was the day of the annual community festival, a mix of crafts, local food stalls, and performances that drew people from both the town and the nearby reservation. Emily had considered staying home, as she usually did, but something inside her pushed her to step outside her comfort zone. Maybe it was the warmth of the early sun or the soft breeze carrying the scent of freshly baked bread from the stalls. Either way, she found herself wandering through the festival, her heart beating a little faster than normal. The festival was lively. Children ran around, their laughter ringing out like tiny bells. Vendors shouted friendly greetings to anyone who passed by, selling everything from handmade jewelry to local honey. The music of a folk band floated through the air, mingling with the sounds of the crowd. Emily moved slowly, taking it all in, her fingers brushing over the smooth edges of books at the small bookstall. She smiled politely at the vendors but kept her gaze mostly on the ground, afraid that someone would notice just how shy she really was. Then she saw him. He was standing a few feet away, near a stall selling woven blankets. His posture was straight, confident, but his eyes were calm, observing the world with a quiet intensity. He had the kind of presence that made people take notice without him saying a word. His dark hair caught the sunlight, and there was something in the way he carried himself that felt both strong and gentle at the same time. Emily felt a strange flutter in her chest. She couldn't explain it, but she felt drawn to him, as if he had stepped out of a dream she didn't remember having. His name was Tasunka. He was Lakota, and he had grown up on the nearby reservation. From a young age, he had been taught the importance of honor, respect, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. He had seen enough of life's hardships to understand the value of kindness and strength, and he carried those lessons quietly with him. He noticed Emily almost immediately, though he didn't approach her right away. There was something about her gentle demeanor and the way she seemed lost in her own world that made him curious. Their first meeting was accidental, yet memorable. Emily had been carrying a small stack of books she had just purchased from the stall. She walked backward a little too far, distracted by the music and the laughter around her, and she tripped over the edge of the cobblestone path. Books flew in all directions, landing in a scattered mess at her feet. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, and she quickly knelt to gather them. Tasunka was already there before she could even say a word. He crouched beside her, helping to pick up the books, his movements careful and deliberate. "You have a lot of books," he said, his voice calm and warm. "Are you planning to read them all today?" Emily looked up, startled. His presence was commanding yet soothing. She tried to smile, but it came out as more of a nervous twitch. I guess I am," she stammered. "I like reading, it's comforting." Tasunka handed her the last book and met her eyes. There was no judgment there, only understanding. "Reading can be the best way to travel without leaving your place," he said. His words were simple, but they carried weight. Emily felt a shiver of surprise. She had never met someone who seemed to understand her so easily without even knowing her. They talked for a few minutes, just small talk at first. Tasunka asked about her favorite books and shared a little about his own interests. He spoke of the land near his home, of the stories passed down from his elders, and of the quiet strength he found in nature. Emily listened, captivated. She had never felt this kind of connection with anyone before. It was like finding a piece of herself in someone else, someone she didn't even know yet. As the conversation continued, Emily realized she was laughing softly at his jokes, feeling more at ease than she had in a long time. She noticed how he looked at her, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but as if he genuinely cared about what she had to say. There was an honesty in his gaze that made her heart feel lighter. The festival around them continued with its cheerful chaos, but for a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. Emily felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. She wanted to know more about him, to spend more time in this unexpected connection, but her shyness held her back. Still, she found herself walking beside him as they moved from stall to stall, exchanging thoughts and stories as they went. At one point, Emily stopped in front of a small stand selling handcrafted jewelry. She picked up a delicate bracelet, turning it over in her hands. Tasunka noticed her hesitation. "Do you like it?" he asked softly. Emily nodded, almost whispering, "It's beautiful, but I don't usually buy things for myself." Tasunka smiled gently. "Sometimes we deserve a small gift just for being who we are," he said. His words were simple, but they resonated deeply with her. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she couldn't quite name. As the day wore on, they continued to explore the festival together. Emily found herself opening up more than she expected, sharing small details about her life, her love for reading, her quiet walks along the river, the little routines that made her days meaningful. Tasunka listened without interrupting, offering kind words and gentle encouragement. Emily had never met anyone who could listen so attentively without judgment, and she felt a budding sense of trust forming between them. Eventually, the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting golden light over the festival. People started packing up, and the music grew softer. Emily realized that she had been walking and talking with Tasunka for hours without noticing the time passing. She felt both exhilarated and nervous, exhilarated by the connection they had formed, and nervous because it was all so new and intense for her. As they reached the edge of the festival grounds, Emily turned to Tasunka, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm glad I came today," she said. There was a softness in her eyes that he noticed, a quiet honesty that made him want to protect her even more. Tasunka nodded, understanding more than she could say. "I'm glad too," he replied. It's not often you meet someone who makes the day feel different. For Emily, that word, different, was perfect. Everything about this day, this encounter, had felt different from the rest of her life. It was as if a door had opened to something she didn't fully understand yet, but she knew it was something she wanted to explore. They said their goodbyes at the edge of the festival, each of them reluctant to leave. Emily felt a strange mix of hope and fear. Hope for what this new connection could become, and fear of stepping too far into unknown territory. Tasunka felt a protective instinct stir within him, a silent promise forming in his heart to watch over her, to respect her, and to be there for her in ways no one else could. As Emily walked home that evening, she thought about the boy with the calm eyes and gentle words. She had never believed in instant connections, but today had changed that. For the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of something new, something she couldn't yet name, but something she knew she wanted to nurture. And somewhere across the river, Tasunka walked back to his home, thinking of the shy girl with the books and quiet laughter. He had never felt such a strong desire to protect someone, to be close yet respectful, to honor her in every way. Deep down, he vowed that if fate allowed, he would guard her heart. And perhaps, one day, she would allow him to walk beside her not just for a day, but for a lifetime. That day the festival ended, but for Emily and Tasunka it was only the beginning. A quiet, unspoken promise lingering between them, a spark of trust, curiosity, and something deeper that neither of them could ignore. After the festival, Emily couldn't stop thinking about Tasunka. Even as she returned to her quiet routine, working at the library, arranging books on the shelves, and taking her slow walks along the river. His presence lingered in her mind. There was something about the way he had listened, the gentle warmth in his eyes, and the quiet strength he carried that stayed with her. She caught herself smiling at random moments, thinking of the conversation they had shared, the way he had made her feel both safe and understood. A few days later, Emily found herself walking to the small coffee shop near the library. She had convinced herself that she was only stopping for a cup of tea, but deep down, she hoped she might see him again. She hadn't expected him to be there, yet when she entered, there he was, sitting alone at a corner table, reading a book. He looked up for a moment, and when their eyes met, he smiled in that calm, reassuring way that made her heart skip a beat. "Emily," he said softly as she approached, "I didn't expect to see you here." I just came for tea," she replied, a little nervously. "I wasn't sure if you'd be here." Tasunka gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Well, now that you're here, would you like to sit?" Emily nodded and sat down, clutching her cup a little tightly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. There was a comfortable silence, the kind that didn't feel awkward but rather easy, like two pieces of a puzzle finding their place. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice quiet but steady. "I've been thinking about the festival and about you." She paused, unsure if she should continue. "I liked talking with you. It was nice to feel like someone really listened." Tasunka's eyes softened. "I'm glad," he said. "I felt the same." It's rare to meet someone who sees things clearly, even in silence. For the next hour, they talked in fits and starts, slowly opening up. Emily found herself sharing little things about her life, her favorite books, her routines, the quiet places she liked to visit along the river. She spoke of her shy nature and how she often felt invisible in the world around her. Tasunka listened, never interrupting, only nodding gently or asking thoughtful questions. In return, Tasunka spoke of his life on the reservation. He told her about the stories his elders had shared with him as a child, lessons about honor, respect, and the importance of community. He talked about the land, the quiet strength of the rivers, and how nature had always been a teacher for him. Emily listened, captivated. She had never heard someone speak with such calm confidence, yet such genuine kindness. As the conversation continued, Emily felt a growing sense of trust forming. She noticed how his words made her feel seen, as if he understood more about her in 1 hour than most people had in her entire life. She also noticed something else. Her heart felt lighter, her shoulders less tense, and her chest a little warmer every time he smiled. Then almost shyly she lowered her voice and said, "Tasunka, I need to tell you something." He looked at her with quiet curiosity. "What is it?" I'm a virgin," she whispered, her cheeks turning red. "I haven't, been with anyone." She felt her words tremble as she spoke. I want to go slow. I hope that's okay." Tasunka's expression softened even more. There was no judgment, no surprise, only respect. He nodded slowly. "I understand," he said gently. "I will respect that, and I will make sure you feel safe and comfortable always." Something inside Emily relaxed at his words. She had expected awkwardness or embarrassment, but instead, she felt relief. For the first time, she realized that someone could care about her not just for what she could give, but for who she was. She felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a sense of security she had rarely experienced before. Over the next few weeks, Emily and Tasunka spent more time together. They would meet for walks along the river, sometimes sitting quietly on the grassy bank, watching the water flow by. They would visit the library together, searching for books and recommending stories to each other. Each small activity built a stronger connection between them, a bond grounded in trust, respect, and mutual curiosity. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the trees, casting golden light across the water, Emily leaned back against a tree, her legs stretched out in front of her. Tasunka sat beside her, tossing small pebbles into the river. "I like these quiet moments," Emily said softly. It feels peaceful. I like them too, Tasunka replied. It's in these moments that you see people clearly, without noise, without distraction. Emily smiled, feeling the truth of his words. I never thought I'd find someone who makes me feel like this, she admitted. Safe. Understood, like I can be myself without worrying about what people think. Tasunka's eyes met hers. That's because you deserve to feel that way, he said. You deserve to be seen for who you really are, and I promise I will do my best to make sure you always feel that way. Emily felt a tear slip down her cheek, not of sadness but of relief. She had carried so much caution, so much fear of being hurt, that it was almost unbelievable to feel someone care so genuinely. She looked at him and felt a mix of admiration and trust that grew stronger every day. Their growing closeness didn't go unnoticed. Friends of Emily began to tease her gently, asking about the boy she had been spending time with. Emily laughed along with them, careful not to reveal too much too soon. Tasunka, meanwhile, faced curiosity from his own community, some questioning his interest in someone outside the reservation. But he never wavered. He knew what he felt was real, and he trusted that his respect and care would guide their connection safely. One rainy afternoon, Emily found herself stuck under a small awning, the storm heavy and relentless. Tasunka appeared a few moments later, holding an umbrella. Mind if I join you? He asked, his voice calm despite the pounding rain. Emily shook her head, smiling. Of course not. They stood together under the umbrella, the rain falling around them in a steady rhythm. There was a quiet intimacy in simply being near each other, without the need for words or grand gestures. Emily felt a sense of comfort she had never known before, and she realized that she was beginning to rely on him, not just for safety, but for emotional support, for the sense of calm he seemed to bring into her life. As the weeks passed, Emily slowly began to open up more. She shared small details about her fears and insecurities, and Tasunka always listened with patience. He never pushed her, never rushed her. Each moment spent together reinforced the trust between them. One evening, Emily and Tasunka sat by a small campfire near the river. The flames flickered gently, casting warm light across their faces. Emily hesitated before speaking, then said, I've never had anyone who made me feel respected like this before. It's different, in a good way. Tasunka reached out, gently taking her hand in his. That's how it should feel, he said softly. You should always feel safe, respected, and valued, and I will do my best to make sure you feel that way every day. Emily looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. For the first time, she realized that trust and care could grow into something deep and meaningful. She felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a sense of hope for a future she hadn't dared to imagine before. The connection between them continued to grow, not through grand gestures or dramatic events, but through small, consistent acts of kindness, respect, and understanding. Every shared smile, every quiet conversation, every moment of support strengthened their bond. Emily began to understand that love was not just about passion or excitement, but about trust, patience, and mutual care. By the time the first hints of autumn colored the leaves along the riverbank, Emily and Tasunka had become inseparable. Their walks, their conversations, their quiet moments together had created a foundation stronger than either of them had expected. And through it all, Emily felt a growing certainty that she had found someone who truly saw her, who respected her, and who could perhaps be trusted with her heart. As they sat together one evening, watching the sun set over the water, Emily realized that she was no longer afraid of opening her heart. She had found someone who made her feel safe, cherished, and understood, and in Tasunka she had discovered a quiet strength that mirrored her own. The trust between them had grown into something real, something lasting, and Emily knew that, for the first time in her life, she was ready to let someone in completely. The early days of Emily and Tasunka's friendship had been filled with calm walks, quiet conversations, and gentle laughter. They had discovered a rhythm together that felt safe and natural. Yet, life, as it often does, had a way of testing even the strongest bonds. It started with small whispers in town. Some of Emily's classmates and neighbors noticed how often she was seen with Tasunka and began asking questions. Their tone wasn't always unkind, but Emily could feel the curiosity and, at times, the judgment behind their words. "Is he serious about you?" one of her friends asked during a lunch break at the library. "I mean, he's different from anyone you've dated before." Emily tried to laugh it off. "We're just friends," she said, but she could feel her cheeks burning. Even though she wanted to protect their connection from gossip, she also realized that others' opinions could affect how she felt. She didn't want people to misunderstand their bond or put pressure on her feelings. On the reservation side, Tasunka experienced similar scrutiny. Some of his peers questioned why he spent so much time with someone from the town, someone outside their community. "Are you sure she understands your world?" one friend asked, concern laced in his tone. "Sometimes people from the town, they just don't get it." Tasunka's response was quiet but firm. "It doesn't matter if she's from here or there," he said. "What matters is that she respects me and I respect her. That's enough for me." Despite these whispers, Emily and Tasunka continued to nurture their bond. They spent afternoons together at the riverbank, where the flow of the water seemed to wash away the stress of others' opinions. They shared stories from their pasts, small dreams for the future, and simple joys like skipping stones or watching birds fly across the water. But then came the first real challenge. One late afternoon, as Emily walked home from the library, she noticed a familiar figure leaning near the town square. It was her ex-boyfriend, Mark, someone she had trusted before but who had hurt her in ways she was still learning to understand. He called out her name, his voice carrying across the quiet streets. "Emily, wait up," he said, jogging toward her. Emily froze, her heart thumping in her chest. She hadn't seen him in months, and the memory of past pain made her stomach twist. She tried to keep walking, but Mark caught up to her and stepped close. "I've been thinking about you," he said, his voice low and persuasive. "I made a mistake before. Can we talk?" Emily took a small step back, her hand gripping the strap of her bag. She shook her head. "No, I don't think that's a good idea," she said firmly. "Please just leave me alone." Mark frowned, his expression darkening. "Come on, Emily. Don't be like that, you're overreacting." Before the tension could escalate further, Tasunka appeared. He had been walking along the same path, keeping an eye out for Emily as he often did. When he saw Mark standing too close, he stepped forward calmly but firmly. "Step back," Tasunka said, his voice quiet but commanding. There was no aggression, only a strength that made Mark hesitate. Mark's eyes flicked between Emily and Tasunka. "Who's this?" he asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. "This is someone who cares about Emily," Tasunka replied simply, "and right now he needs to step away." Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had trusted Tasunka, but seeing him stand up so calmly yet strongly made her heart swell. Mark, realizing he had underestimated the quiet strength of the Lakota man, muttered something under his breath and walked away, leaving Emily and Tasunka alone. Emily turned to him, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you," she whispered. Tasunka smiled gently, his eyes softening. "You didn't need to be afraid," he said. "I'll always make sure you're safe." That moment, small yet significant, strengthened their connection. Emily realized that trust was not just about sharing feelings, but also about knowing someone would stand by you when the world became difficult. Tasunka's calm protection reassured her in a way words never could. The challenges didn't stop there. One afternoon, Emily invited Tasunka to her home for a simple lunch. As they walked through the quiet streets, they noticed a few of Emily's classmates watching them from a distance. Some whispered, others laughed quietly. Emily felt the familiar sting of self-consciousness, her hands twisting together nervously. Tasunka noticed immediately. He gently took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Ignore them," he said softly. "Their opinions don't define us. What we have, that's our own." "And it's enough." Emily nodded, drawing courage from his words. She realized that their bond wasn't built on public approval but on mutual respect and care. For the first time, she felt a confidence in her choices, confidence that came not from defiance but from the certainty of Tasunka's loyalty. That evening, as they sat by the river, Tasunka shared a story from his childhood. He spoke of the importance of protecting those who are vulnerable, of standing firm in the face of challenges, and of the quiet power that comes from patience and understanding. Emily listened, mesmerized. She had never realized how much strength could come from gentleness and respect. Their growing bond also faced emotional challenges. Emily sometimes struggled with insecurity, wondering if she was truly worthy of Tasunka's care. There were moments when self-doubt crept in, and she worried that she might ruin the trust they had built. During one quiet evening walk, she finally voiced her fears. "Tasunka, what if I'm not enough?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the gentle flow of the river. Tasunka stopped walking and turned to her. He lifted her chin gently so she would meet his eyes. "Emily," he said firmly, "you are more than enough. You don't have to prove anything to me. I care for you not because of what you do or don't have, but because of who you are. And that will never change." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She felt a wave of gratitude and relief. For the first time, she realized that she could trust someone completely, not just with her safety, but with her heart. She reached out and held his hand, feeling the warmth and steadiness of his presence. Over the next few weeks, Emily and Tasunka faced other small tests, misunderstandings, rumors, and moments of self-doubt, but each challenge only strengthened their bond. They learned to communicate openly, to share fears without judgment, and to protect each other in both physical and emotional ways. One crisp autumn morning, Emily invited Tasunka to help her set up a small book sale at the library. As they arranged tables and books, she noticed a few students whispering and pointing. Normally, this would have made her uncomfortable, but with Tasunka by her side, she felt calm. "They're just curious," Tasunka said softly, noticing her tension. "They don't understand what they see, and that's okay. What matters is that we do." Emily smiled, feeling the truth of his words. Together, they worked quietly and efficiently, their teamwork reflecting the trust and understanding they had built. By the end of the day, the sale was a success, and the whispers of curiosity had faded into the background. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned shades of pink and orange, Emily and Tasunka sat on a bench near the river. They watched the reflection of the sunset on the water, a mirror of the calm that now existed between them. "You know," Emily said softly, "I was scared before of people, of my past, even of trusting someone again. But being with you, it's different. I feel safe. I feel understood." Tasunka turned to her, his eyes gentle and full of warmth. "And that's how it should feel," he said. "You deserve that feeling every day, and I promise I'll do my best to make sure you always have it." Emily smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. She realized that the challenges they had faced together, Mark, the whispers, her own doubts, had not weakened their connection. Instead, they had made it stronger, more resilient. She felt grateful for his patience, his quiet strength, and his unwavering respect. As the evening grew darker and the first stars appeared in the sky, Emily rested her head on Tasunka's shoulder. The world around them was still, the gentle flow of the river echoing their calm. She knew that challenges would come again. Life was never without them. But for now, she felt a quiet certainty. With Tasunka by her side, she could face anything. And Tasunka, feeling her trust and vulnerability in his presence, vowed silently once more to guard her heart with his life, to honor her boundaries and to protect the bond they were building. That night, as Emily walked home, she carried a new confidence. She had faced the first real tests of their relationship and discovered that trust, respect, and care could withstand the pressures of the outside world. For the first time in a long while, she felt ready to embrace the future, knowing that Tasunka would be there beside her. The crisp air of early autumn carried a gentle calm that Emily had come to cherish. The leaves along the riverbank had begun to turn shades of gold, orange, and red, and the quiet rustle of them underfoot made each walk with Tasunka feel like a small adventure. It had been weeks since the incident with Mark, and Emily had slowly regained her sense of peace. She knew she could trust Tasunka, not just to protect her physically, but to honor her heart and emotions. They had spent most of their afternoons together, walking along the river, exploring quiet spots in the woods, or visiting the library. Each moment was simple, yet it carried a depth that Emily had never experienced before. She had begun to realize that their bond was about more than companionship. It was about understanding, respect, and mutual care. One afternoon, Emily invited Tasunka to her favorite quiet spot along the river. A small clearing with soft grass, and a view of the water made it feel like a secret world away from the rest of the town. She had packed a small picnic, something simple, sandwiches, fresh fruit, and a thermos of tea, but the gesture was her way of showing that she wanted to share a piece of her world with him. Tasunka smiled when he saw the picnic spread out. "You did all this?" he asked, impressed. Emily nodded, her cheeks warming. "I thought it would be nice, just a quiet afternoon together." They sat side by side, passing food back and forth and talking in comfortable silences that didn't need to be filled. Tasunka told her about the stars he had seen during camping trips with his family, about the lessons his grandfather had taught him about patience and respect, and about the small traditions that kept their culture alive. Emily listened intently, fascinated by his stories and the wisdom woven through them. As the sun began to lower in the sky, painting the river with golden light, Emily grew quiet for a moment. She wanted to share something important with him, but the words felt heavy on her tongue. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft. "Tasunka, I've been thinking a lot about feelings, about us." She looked down, fidgeting with the edge of her sleeve. "I like you. I really like you. But I'm still scared. Sometimes I wonder if I'm ready for everything that comes with caring about someone so much." Tasunka reached out and gently lifted her chin so she could meet his eyes. "Emily," he said, his voice calm and steady, "it's okay to be scared. It's okay to take things slow. You don't have to rush into anything. What matters is that we respect each other, that we trust each other, and that we grow together." Emily felt a wave of relief and warmth wash over her. His words carried a sense of security that she had never known. She realized that with Tasunka, she didn't have to hide her fears or pretend to be braver than she was. She could simply be herself, and that was enough. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking about their hopes and dreams. Emily shared her wish to someday travel, to see the world beyond her small town, even if only for a short time. Tasunka spoke about his desire to honor his family and culture while also exploring new experiences. They found a quiet joy in sharing their aspirations, discovering that even their differences could complement each other. As the sun dipped lower, Emily felt a shiver from the cool evening air. Tasunka noticed immediately and offered her his jacket. She hesitated for a moment, then accepted it, feeling the warmth of the fabric and the thoughtfulness behind his gesture. Small acts like this, the attention to her comfort, the gentle care in his words and actions, made Emily feel cherished in ways she had never imagined. One evening, as the sky turned soft shades of pink and purple, Tasunka took Emily to a small hill overlooking the river. The view stretched for miles, the water winding through the trees like a ribbon of silver. They sat together, watching the sun sink below the horizon. "Emily," Tasunka said quietly, "I want you to know something. I care about you, more than I can explain in words. I don't expect anything from you except that you feel safe and respected. That's all that matters to me." Emily's heart swelled. She had never felt so deeply seen and understood. She reached out and held his hand, feeling the steady strength in his grip. "I care about you too," she said softly, "and I trust you more than I've trusted anyone." Their relationship continued to deepen, not through dramatic events, but through consistent, gentle actions. Tasunka would notice when Emily was nervous or tired and offer her a quiet reassurance. Emily, in turn, would smile at his kindness, finding courage in his presence. Each shared moment, each conversation, strengthened the bond between them, creating a foundation built on respect, trust, and genuine care. Yet, emotional growth was not always easy. Emily sometimes struggled with her own insecurities, worrying that she might not be strong enough to meet Tasunka's expectations or to navigate the challenges that life might bring. One afternoon, as they sat by the river skipping stones, she finally voiced her fears. "Tasunka, what if I fail? What if I can't be the person you deserve?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Tasunka picked up a smooth stone and skipped it across the water, then turned to her with a gentle smile. "Emily," he said, "you don't have to be perfect. None of us are. What matters is that we care for each other, that we try our best, and that we respect each other. That's enough. And you are enough just as you are." Emily felt tears prick at her eyes. For the first time, she understood that love was not about perfection, but about acceptance, patience, and understanding. She leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the warmth and reassurance of his presence. Over the following weeks, they continued to nurture their relationship in small but meaningful ways. They discovered favorite places in town, a quiet cafe where they could talk for hours, a small park where they could watch the sunset without interruptions, a hidden path along the river where the world seemed to belong only to them. Each new discovery became a shared memory, a piece of the bond they were building together. One rainy evening, they took shelter under a large tree during a sudden downpour. The rain fell in steady sheets, drumming on the leaves above them. Emily shivered slightly, and Tasunka draped his jacket around her shoulders, holding her close to share his warmth. "It's just rain," he said with a small smile. "It can't touch us here." Emily laughed softly, feeling the comfort of his words. She realized that it wasn't the absence of fear or challenges that made her feel safe. It was the presence of someone who genuinely cared and respected her. Their trust and care for each other extended beyond words and gestures. Tasunka would sometimes remind Emily to rest, to eat well, or to take breaks when she felt overwhelmed. Emily, in turn, noticed his quiet acts of thoughtfulness, like saving a seat for her or remembering the small details he knew she loved. These small acts, repeated day after day, created a deep sense of connection that neither of them had expected so quickly. One evening, as they sat on a bench by the river, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky, Emily turned to Tasunka. "I feel different with you," she said softly. "I feel brave and safe and happy. I didn't know it was possible to feel all of that at the same time." Tasunka looked at her, his expression gentle. "That's because it's real," he said. "What we have isn't built on fear or doubt. It's built on trust, respect, and care. And that makes it strong, Emily, strong enough to face anything." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that the challenges they had faced together, the whispers, the doubts, the past pain, had only made their bond stronger. With Tasunka, she had discovered a love that was patient, understanding, and unwavering. As the night grew darker and the river reflected the light of the moon, Emily rested her head on Tasunka's shoulder. She felt a sense of peace she had never known, a quiet certainty that no matter what came next, they would face it together. Tasunka, feeling her trust and vulnerability in his presence, vowed silently once again to guard her heart, to honor her boundaries, and to protect the bond they were building. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that with patience, respect, and care, they could grow together into something lasting and beautiful. And so, in the gentle quiet of the evening, surrounded by the rustle of leaves and the soft murmur of the river, Emily and Tasunka found a deeper connection, not just of affection, but of trust, understanding, and unwavering support. It was a love built slowly, carefully, and sincerely, a love that promised to endure challenges, celebrate joys, and grow stronger with each passing day. As the weeks turned into months, Emily and Tasunka's bond had grown deeper than either of them had expected. What had started as curiosity and quiet admiration had become trust, understanding, and a love built on patience and respect. They knew each other's fears, dreams, and the little details that made life feel brighter. But life, as it often does, still had its challenges. One afternoon, Emily and Tasunka were walking along their favorite path by the river, the air crisp with early winter chill. The trees were bare now, and the river reflected the pale sunlight like a sheet of silver. It had been a particularly stressful week for Emily at the library, with an unexpected shortage of staff and extra responsibilities falling on her shoulders. She felt drained, her shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Tasunka noticed immediately. He slowed his pace to match hers and reached out, gently taking her hand. "Emily," he said softly, "you've been carrying a lot. You don't have to do everything alone. I'm here with you." Emily looked at him, her eyes tired but full of gratitude. "I know," she said, her voice quiet. "It's just, sometimes it feels like too much. I don't want to let anyone down." Tasunka squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You won't let anyone down," he said. "And even if things get hard, I'll be here. We'll face it together." That simple promise gave Emily a warmth that spread through her chest. She realized once again that their bond wasn't just about love or companionship. It was about having someone to lean on when life became heavy, someone who would protect her not just physically, but emotionally. A few days later, Emily and Tasunka faced another challenge, this time from outside their immediate world. The whispers and questions from neighbors and classmates had returned, growing louder in hushed tones and subtle glances. Some people didn't understand their connection, and Emily felt the tension in the town pressing on her. She tried to ignore it, but one afternoon, as she walked through the town square, a group of classmates approached. Their voices were quiet but pointed. "Emily, are you sure about him?" one asked. "I mean, he's nice, but isn't it complicated?" Emily's stomach twisted. She had learned to trust Tasunka, but she hadn't realized how the world's opinions could still create doubt in her mind. She took a deep breath, remembering his words, trust, patience, and care. She held her head high and said firmly, "Yes, I'm sure, and I wish you'd respect that." The classmates exchanged surprised glances, then walked away. Emily exhaled, relief washing over her. She realized that part of growing together was learning to face the outside world as a united front, knowing that their trust and respect for each other outweighed any opinions or doubts from others. That evening, Emily and Tasunka returned to the riverbank, their quiet sanctuary. They sat together on the familiar bench, the water reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "I felt nervous today," Emily admitted, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I didn't want the opinions of others to shake what we have, but I think I'm stronger now." Tasunka wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her gently closer. "You are stronger," he said, "and you're not alone anymore. Whatever comes, we face it together." Their relationship had also grown through shared experiences and small adventures. One weekend, they decided to visit the reservation, spending time with Tasunka's family and learning more about his culture. Emily listened to the stories of the elders, watched traditional dances, and helped prepare meals alongside Tasunka's siblings. It was a new world for her, filled with customs and practices she had never experienced, but she felt welcomed and accepted. Tasunka watched her carefully, noticing the way her eyes lit up with curiosity and respect. "You belong here," he said quietly. "You're part of this now, just as much as you are part of my life." Emily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She had never felt such genuine acceptance before, not just from Tasunka, but from his entire family. She realized that love was not just about emotions between two people. It was about trust, respect, and being welcomed into each other's worlds. Back in town, their relationship continued to deepen through small, meaningful gestures. Tasunka would leave a note in Emily's book at the library, reminding her to take breaks or smile when she felt stressed. Emily would bake cookies and leave them on his doorstep, a quiet expression of care and gratitude. These acts, though simple, strengthened their bond and created a rhythm of mutual love and support. One evening, as winter approached and the first snowflakes began to fall, Emily and Tasunka returned to their favorite hill overlooking the river. The world was quiet, blanketed in white, and the river shimmered in the soft moonlight. They sat together, the silence between them comfortable and warm. "Emily," Tasunka said softly, turning to her, "I've been thinking about us, about everything we've faced and everything we've built together." Emily looked at him, curiosity shining in her eyes. "What about us?" she asked. "I want you to know that no matter what happens," he continued, "I will always be here. I will always honor you, respect you, and protect you, not just from the world but from anything that might threaten your heart. You mean more to me than words can express." Emily felt her heart swell. She reached out and held his hand, feeling the warmth and strength in his grip. "And you mean more to me than I can say," she whispered. "You've taught me what it means to trust, to feel safe, and to love without fear. I feel whole with you." As the snow began to fall more heavily, they stood together, looking at the river stretching out below them. The cold air nipped at their cheeks, but the warmth between them was stronger than anything outside. They had faced whispers, doubts, past pains, and moments of fear, and yet here they were, stronger and closer than ever. Over the following weeks, they continued to grow together. Their days were filled with laughter, shared meals, quiet walks, and conversations that stretched into the night. They learned to communicate openly, to listen without judgment, and to support each other's dreams. Emily found courage in Tasunka's presence, and Tasunka found peace in Emily's trust and understanding. Then, one evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with shades of pink and gold, Emily and Tasunka sat by the river, the snow beginning to melt into small streams along the banks. Emily turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "Tasunka," she said, "I've learned something important these past months. Love isn't just about strong feelings or excitement. It's about trust, respect, and caring for someone every single day. You've shown me that. And I want to spend my life learning more about love with you." Tasunka's eyes softened, filled with emotion. He gently took both of her hands in his. "Emily," he said, "I've made a promise to myself and to you. I vowed to guard your heart, to respect your boundaries, and to be by your side through everything. And I will, always. I want to face every joy and every challenge with you. You've made my life brighter, calmer, and more meaningful than I ever imagined." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she smiled. For the first time, she felt that perfect blend of safety, trust, and love. She leaned into him, feeling the steady warmth of his presence, and for a long moment they simply sat together, letting the quiet of the river and the beauty of the setting sun speak for them. The weeks that followed brought more small joys. They built snowmen along the riverbank, shared warm cups of cocoa in front of fireplaces, and watched the stars emerge in the clear winter sky. Every shared experience strengthened their bond, reminding them that love was not about rushing or grand gestures. It was about consistent care, patience, and respect. Eventually, Emily realized something profound. She was no longer afraid of opening her heart. She had found someone who not only respected her but cherished her, someone who would stand by her in moments of fear, stress, or uncertainty. And she knew, deep in her heart, that Tasunka had found the same in her, a love built slowly, gently, and sincerely. One quiet evening, as they walked hand in hand along the river, Emily stopped and looked at Tasunka. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being patient, for caring, for trusting me and letting me trust you. You've changed my life." Tasunka smiled, his eyes warm and steady. "And you've changed mine," he replied. "We've built something rare, Emily, something real, and as long as we continue to care for each other, there's nothing we can't face together." As the first snow of winter settled gently on the ground, Emily and Tasunka stood together, watching the river reflect the light of the moon. They had faced challenges, doubts, and fears, but their bond had only grown stronger. In each other they had found trust, respect, and unwavering care. And in that quiet, peaceful moment, they knew their journey together was only beginning, a journey filled with love, patience, and the promise of always being there for one another.